Hey everyone, the Tuesday stream just happened and we got some more news on the energy generator mechanic, but we kind of also want to go through some of the changes that happened today, right? Because they did clarify some things because people were still not sure what this meant. So first off is the standard deck size rule, right? So now you have to have 50 cards in the main deck, and cards in the ride deck are separated, from the main deck. And you just put in like a copy of like a 0, 1, and 2, and 3. And that's just it, right? It's just your ride deck is now separate from the main deck, but your main deck has 50 cards and you still have things like, 16 triggers and all that, right? So funnily enough, it does make it so that there is actually one more card in your deck compared to like V and P. Because, in Premium and V, your starter comes out of your deck. And, you essentially have like a 49 card deck. But now in standard, the starter is like outside your main deck. So you have like a full 50 cards that you're going to be playing. So, interesting tidbit there. The next thing is also that, what about like, is the card quantity limit in the main deck and ride deck counted separately? No, the total of the card quantity is from both the main deck and the ride deck. Player can only have 4 copies of any particular card in any game. So it's basically just saying, you can't have like a 5th copy. It's still, 4 copies is the limit, and it's just shared across both decks. And then for decks with Grifferseed, what happens to the number of cards in the main deck and ride deck? And the answer is, aside from the 50 cards in the main deck, your ride deck can have 3 Calamity cards, 1 Overtrigger, 1 Grifferseed, and 1 ride deck crest. That ride deck crest is going to be pretty interesting. Yeah, that makes it a total of like 6 cards. Yeah, but it's just all in the ride deck, so you don't have to worry about like these extra cards interfering with the main deck. Yeah. And then the next thing is that also is the change on deciding which player goes first. Right, so all players determine which player should go first in a random manner. Then the player who wins will choose whether to go first. It's just saying, pick a random method to decide, and whoever wins that random method will get to decide. They get to choose if they want to go first or second. It's not like before where they have to go first, right? Now, let's talk about this new mechanic, the energy generator mechanic. So this is a ride deck crest, and you may only have 1 ride deck crest in the ride deck. And then the skills, there's a bunch of skills on them. The first one is auto in the ride deck. When you ride, put this card into the crest zone, and if you went second, energy charge 3. And then the second effect is Cont. You may have up to 10 energy. The third effect is auto at the beginning of your ride phase, energy charge 3. So it's going to be like E-charge, C blast, things like that. And then act once per turn, energy blast 7, and draw a card. So let's kind of go back to this, right? Let's kind of go back to this. There's a few more info to kind of go through regarding this energy generator. First is, here's an example card that is going to come out in the future. So this is Light Elemental Popowa. And this is Cont, Vanguard Circle or Rearguard Circle. When you would ride from the ride deck, you can ride with Energy Blast 4 instead of choose a card from your hand and discard it. So here is you're using like your third resource to kind of, in a way, plus, right? Normally you'd have to discard a card to a ride, but now, if your hand is too good, you can just Energy Blast 4 to do it. And then the second effect is auto. When this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle or put on Guardian Circle, Energy Blast 2, and this unit gets plus 5,000 power / plus 5,000 shield until the end of turn. So extra shielding by using the energy, right? So again, I'll go back to this, and then let's kind of talk about some of the Q&A. So first off is, can I put energy generator in the main deck? And that is no, you cannot put it in the main deck. You can only put the ride deck crest cards in the ride deck. Yeah. The second question is it mandatory to have energy generator in the ride deck? And the answer is no, it is not mandatory. However, without it, you cannot get energy, and you just be pretty low energy, right? Or no energy. And then here's just a quick rundown on everything as well. So any player can have up to a maximum of 10 energy. As you can see, the energy counter here, you get this in the quick start deck. You can get other crests after getting the energy generator crest. It does say you can only have like 1 ride deck crest, right? But I think all the other crests are called something different. They're called like Chronojet crest, a Messiah crest, blah, 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 right? So this is, yeah, this pretty much just confirms you can get other crests. You can have multiple crests. And, maybe in the future we'll have like 2 billion crests just like stacked on top of each other, right? And then the third question is, the third answer pretty much is you cannot use dice or counters to keep track of your current energy. Please use energy counters found in the startup trial decks or official energy cards distributed separately. So fortunately, bit lame there, but you can use energy cards, so you'll get like they're printing like cards that say energy. You can use that to kind of also calculate your energy, which I think is like better, right? It's better. I do prefer just having the cards. Much more easier to know what's like what you have, and then you can also like, in case anything goes wrong, it's a bit easier to kind of recover in a way, I think, rather than like having a little like dice or whatever, just kind of moving around and, you know, get knocked out, you know, be like, where to go? I don't know how much energy. I think it's something like that, right? So overall, those are just the quick rundowns. But let's kind of talk about the energy, this energy generator, right? So first off, new mechanic. This adds extra complexity to standard, pretty much, right? We're used to having Counterblast, we're used to having Soul. Those are usually the two resource generators, or two resources, not generators, but two resources that you have in the game. This adds a third. And this third has like pretty decent like base abilities, like you just Energy Blast 7 to draw a card. But then we also see that we have cards that do use energy as well, so like this Light Elemental uses energy for extra shielding, you know, can kind of skip effects with the energy. So the idea is that, yeah, you will have ways to use this energy that is not just from the crest, and you'll probably have ways to gain energy as well, right? So you have to carefully balance 3 different costs or resources, which again does add complexity, add some skill into the game, adds a lot of more ways they can design decks, right? You'll have decks that use every single resource, and then, you know, decks which don't as well, right? If a deck just totally doesn't use energy, you'll have a baseline Soul Blast or Energy Blast 7 draw. But then, you know, it just adds different lines of play as well, right? Energy Blast 2 to get extra 5k. I feel like that could be pretty bad, but Energy Blast 2 to get like extra shield, that sounds great. But there'll be situations where you're getting that extra 5k with the Energy Blast 2 is actually very significant, and will just like open, you know, a good kind of extra push power that you just might need, or, you know, extra annoying defensive guard, makes you trade energy against other decks. There's like a lot of ways to do it, so it adds a lot of complexity that you really need into standard at the moment, which pretty much has been, I feel like, has been sorely lacking for a very long time. Everyone has been saying the biggest problem with standard has been that, you know, it's just such a simple game. It's so easy. The deck builds itself, right? I'm pretty sure you heard me say that. The deck builds itself. But now with extra 4 cards, a bit harder. With this energy as well, there's a few more ways that you can kind of manipulate the game state. We have the D skill, Divine skill, that we haven't seen yet. That's a once per game ability, but apparently going to be very strong. But as other ways that you can balance the game too, right? Going second, you get 3 more energy compared to your opponent. So that means you can use some of these energy skills first. So it might not be as clear cut, like going first or second, which one is better. But it does solve that, also adds like, helps solve the issue, right? Where we have, we're going first, which is so much better than going second. Nowadays, it might be like, I don't know, right? There might be some decks that really like that energy and want to go second. And there's ways to kind of balance the game better. If going second like still sucks, right? They can print more cards that use energy that make going second better, right? If defensive power is like really lacking at the moment, then bam, let's slap a card with like Energy Blast 2 plus 10k, right? So there's a lot of ways that can do it, and again, you have to balance every single resource, which means it just requires you to be better and smarter at the game. There'll be more pitfalls as well for players to go into, which is fine, right? The ways to discover and play and learn the game, they should kind of just throw you there and let you learn and figure it out. I know it feels kind of wrong, right? When we think of modern day gaming, where it's like, oh, do this, just follow everything and just like follow one way, right? But at least this gives you extra ways, which is nice. I talk about why G was good, right? G had a lot of ways for you to play, a lot of little ways to gain advantage, but all those small advantages will gain into like snowball into like a big advantage, right? This at least kind of feels like that for now, right? Third resource, another way to kind of gain small advantages that should hopefully snowball into a big one. So that's kind of just like my quick thoughts on it. pretty, honestly, for standard, I'm quite excited for this. It's, again, right, I always love more complexity in standard. That is kind of one of the weaknesses that I've had in the game, alongside of just, you know, very, very aggressive trigger sack kind of problems, because just how, you know, strong triggers are. But I feel like this will at least change some of that, or has the potential to change some of that, just with what they can do with energy. And it just adds like another layer of even card design, right? Like, there's only so much you can do with Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, and they've been doing that for 10 years, right? They've been doing that for 10 years. But now with another little bit of a cost, a resource that you can use, you know, we'll have like Counter Blast, Soul Blast, Energy Blast 1. Wow. Maybe there's ways to kind of minus your opponent's energy too. That'd be pretty interesting. Like drain energy, because so like, well, we have like Counter Blast drain as well, from like Ghidorah and things like that. We have very little Soul Blast kind of, you know, soul drain. Like only Prison really does that. But energy has like no, it doesn't really interact with your opponent main game plan in a way, right? Like soul is very precious. A lot of strategies require things in soul, but energy doesn't really require that. So there could be another way to disrupt your opponent's energy that could be like pretty cool. So that is just kind of my thoughts on the energy mechanic. I'm quite excited to see what this will become, and this definitely is the right step, I think, for standard to be progressing. Because like when the quick start decks were announced, everyone like goes, why do we want to play like vanilla decks, right? Why do we want to play easy game, right? Well, at least now we have a slightly more difficult game, which is good to see. Let me know what you think of energy in the comments below, right? I think so far Divine Z has been looking pretty promising, so we'll see in the next couple of months what happens. So let me know, comments below, what you think. See you all tomorrow, maybe. All right, bye.